Welcome back, everybody, to Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast covering your Las Vegas Raiders. Scott Gulbransen and Moton with you here to talk about the Raiders. A lot to talk about. This coaching staff's coming together. We're going to get into that as well. Do us a favor. If you don't already subscribe to the podcast, do so, even though there's only a couple episodes left. But there might be more coming down the road. You never know. So just do that if you would. Also, make sure if you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you're watching us, give us a thumbs up. Also, take part in the chat. That's right. That's why we do the premieres. You're in there, you're having fun, having some good times. Also, a call to you with the last shows coming up. Make sure you dial in. Give us your memories, your thoughts, whatever you want at the Raider Nation switchboard. 702-900-789, 7869, excuse me. 702-900-7869 is that number to take part. We'd love to hear from you and talk about what you liked about the show and what you'll do in place of it. You never know. So we'll see what's going on. But anyway, Scott and Mo back with you. Mo, of course, the senior NFL writer over at Bleacher Report, also Raiders columnist at sportsnot.com. You can follow him on x.com at Mo Moton, Moemoton. I am at LV Gully, the show, SNB Today. Mo, if I get one more person asking me, could you have Mo unblock me? I could spend 6 hours a day with people who need to be unblocked by Mo. So I keep tagging you. Hopefully you're seeing him. But Mo's getting to him, folks. He's made progress. Just give him a little more time, right, Mo? You're still working through the Twitter hack, the X hack that you went through.
Yeah, the Twitter hack lasted 3 weeks. Apparently, it's going to take me 3 months to undo the damage.
Oh, my goodness.
As Scott said, I'm getting through the names. I haven't been that active on social media because I've been taking care of some things away from sports. Life and health come first. So I've been taking care of that. I've been busy and preoccupied. But when I'm back in full force on social media, I'll make sure to unblock all of you.
He might be out all day just taking pictures of food. I think that's what's going on, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, we're going to get into this. Okay, Mo, let's dive in because even as we started to record this, another coach was hired for the Raiders. We look at this staff that Clint Kubiak is putting together. See, I'm old enough to remember his dad as a player, so of course I go with Gary. But Clint Kubiak putting together what I think is a pretty dynamic staff. Let's start with the laundry list, and then we'll go through some of these. Mike McCoy, the experienced former head coach of the Chargers and other places, assistant head coach for this Raiders team. And then you have Rob Leonard as the defensive coordinator, and you also have Andrew Gennaco as the offensive coordinator. Omar Young, running backs coach. Ronnell Williams from the Eagles as linebacker coach. Al Holcomb, special defensive assistant. And then Rick Denison, very important position here after having the last year of having a nobody, I don't know what you want to call Brandon Carroll, Rick Denison as the offensive line coach there as well. So, Mo, you look at the staff, and I know people want to chase after Jim Schwartz and want to chase after all these big names. What I really like about this staff is, yes, there's some younger coaches, some that don't have the most experience, or as some of these bigger names like a Schwartz or anything, but Rob Leonard, very well respected. I know Raider fans love Rob Leonard, like to see him staying in Las Vegas. Then you have, of course, Geno Co from the Seahawks, who is a quarterback's coach, comes over from the Seahawks, going to be the offensive coordinator, even though Clint Kubiak's going to be calling plays. That's a great sign if you still want to get, of course, Mendoza #1 overall, because you're going to need a guy, and he's gotten great praise for what he did with Sam Darnold up in Seattle. Mo, talk about some of these hires for you. We talked about before going on air, Rick Denison as the offensive line coach. Let's start there. Talk about his background, what this offensive line needs. It needs more bodies, yes, but what's there already? What does Rick Denison bring to that offensive line that's going to protect that young quarterback?
He brings experience, and that was the first question I had when they added him to the staff. Was he going to coach the offensive line? Because he's done that at previous stops. I believe Minnesota, Denver, in other areas. He's coached either the offensive line or he's been a run game coordinator. So I think the experience is going to help there. If I'm picking an offensive line coach, not to shade any of the younger guys, I want someone who's done it before. I want an experienced O-line coach because, in my opinion, your offensive line is the most important unit outside of the quarterback on your roster. They protect the quarterback. They open lanes for the run game. Big importance for the Raiders. And he's got to, first step in the door, he's got to answer one of the pertinent questions that we were asking last year What's going to happen with Jackson Powers Johnson? Is he going to stay at guard? Is he going to move back to center? That's going to be the first thing that he's going to have to sort out. And if he is going to stay at guard, what do they do at center? Because Jordan Meredith is going to be a free agent. Alex Kappa did okay at center, but do you want that to be your long-term guy? Probably not. And then you have Will Putnam, who was put on his butt several times during the previous season. You don't want him playing center either. So if JPJ stays at guard, they're gonna have to. I would back up the Brinks truck for Tyler Linderbaum or Connor McGovern, one of those guys who are gonna hit free agency. If Jackson Powers Johnson moves back to center, then you're probably going to have to add one or two guards. We'll see what happens with Caleb Rogers. But Dylan Palm is going to be a free agent, and Alex Kappa, a backup level player. So guard,
Yeah.
interior offensive line is going to be a big position to need for the Raiders in free agency.
Right. And I don't expect Kappa to be back. I mean, obviously the connection there with the former coaching staff is gone now, so we'll see. But you're right. I think this is one of the big questions pre-draft, and we might not know till after the draft, of course, about Jackson Powers Johnson. But who knows? Once once Denison gets in there, and with Kubiak and Geno Co, you're going to be able to see what these guys are thinking as they do that, because he's a young player on the squad, Jackson Powers Johnson, who needs to understand what his role is, because it was so mismanaged last year. There is a lot of bad feelings there, so they need to rectify that quickly. And I would anticipate with a veteran like that, they will do that quickly. Now let's talk about Leonard at defensive coordinator. I mean, this is a call that everybody loved. Rob Leonard at DC. When you look at what he brings to the table, clearly he's close with Max Crosby. We're not talking about the Max Crosby stuff right now. Still rumors all over the place. Who knows what's going on? But a good step, because he's very close with Max Crosby, and a little bit of continuity there too, but also a very good young coach who I think was ready to get an opportunity somewhere in the NFL.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, and when it was brought up that he was, going to be in that line for promotion, and he wasn't official yet. And I said I would like this promotion for Rob Leonard because I think he's deserved it. And there was some pushback from Raider fans on that comment. I was kind of surprised that it was a controversial one. That a lot of people said, "Oh, what has he done?" I mean, Max Crosby's a star, but Max Crosby was there before he got there, and I understand that. But if you look at the development of Charles Snowden, if you look at the development of Caitlin Von Chason, who went to the Patriots before he had an ascendance in Las Vegas with the Raiders. If you look at the Thomas Booker IV, who came over from Philly and was a solid rotational guy. Look at Jonah Laulu, 7th rounder last year, played pretty well this past season. There was development there from him. If you look at those guys, Tonka Hemingway was a rookie with 4 sacks, and he played fewer than 40% of the defensive snaps, and he had some flashes. If you look at all of those guys, they show development under Rob Leonard, who was the defensive line coach. I know they're not stars, people. People say, they're not stars. They're not stars. You got to start somewhere. You don't just become a star overnight. Development happens over time. All of those
Right.
guys I mentioned made steps.
And I don't understand. This is always a thing with fans, not just Raider fans, chasing the name, because the name has some known property to it. And I understand that, right? Because, hey, Schwartz, okay, wasn't a good head coach, but has done well defensively. So you chase that name. But what the Raider team, and I think what you're seeing with this reset, what did you call it? The great silver and black reset? That means starting from a different place. You don't start with somebody who's already been there. Start with people who are on the up, who are climbing up the ladder, who have not yet reached the top of the ladder. And I like that, because I think that's what this franchise really has lacked, is this development of a new culture, a new coaching tree, a coach who comes in and develops other coaches who go and take other jobs because they're doing so well. And I think that's where you get with this. Now, talk offensive coordinator here, obviously coming down from Seattle, Clint Kubiak made a good call here. And I think, again, all signs point to Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, because they got a guy in now who did wonders with Sam Darnold last year.
Right. So Andrew Gennaco goes from Seattle to Las Vegas, and he could have been an offensive coordinator in Seattle where he was actually calling plays. He was in the running for that job to replace Clint Kubiak to be the OC under Mike McDonald, who's a defensive-minded head coach. And he chose to come to Las Vegas and build something with Clint Kubiak. That tells me that Kubiak has some juice. I know they worked together previously. I know that relationship does matter. But for his career, he could have been the guy calling the plays. He is now going to be Clint Kubiak's lieutenant, because although Clint Kubiak did say he doesn't call plays alone in the press conference, we know he's the primary play caller. So for Andrew Gennaco to take that lieutenant job versus being the lead guy on the offensive side of the ball for Seattle, I think means a lot, that he believes in the vision that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to build with Fernando Mendoza at quarterback.
Right. And it points to me because, you're going to hear various opinions, and I respect people who disagree. You're going to hear various opinions about Fernando Mendoza, right? But this tells me a guy who is worked with quarterbacks is taking an opportunity not only to go with someone obviously who's he's worked under in Clint Kubiak, but like you said, not calling plays, but he does get to work with the quarterback. If Fernando Mendoza comes into the Raiders and has a great start to his career, but you're there to do that, so you get the opportunity to develop a young quarterback. It's not often that a coach will come into a situation and be able to start at ground zero with a #1 draft pick at quarterback and be able to develop that guy and then be able to use that for your own career moving forward. And who knows what happens for Gennaco when he goes with Fernando Mendoza. So it's a really, I think, a good one. But Mo, you agree? I think the staff, and then you have Mike McCoy, right? Mike McCoy hasn't succeeded as a head coach. He stepped in Tennessee, obviously, after the previous coach was fired. But you look at the staff with Mike McCoy there, I like that too, because Clint Kubiak has not been a head coach. So you have some experience there. You have a guy who he can lean on as an advisor when it comes to just the day-to-day CEO management of the football team on the field.
Right. And it's always good to have an older coach on staff who has that experience. You don't want to go overboard with it like Antonio Pierce did when he had a bunch of old guys on his staff and
Who
they
did
really didn't
nothing.
have roles really. With
Right.
Kubiak, the difference with this staff is you have some older coaches. Your special teams coordinator is 60 years old. And you mentioned Mike McCoy, but you have a mix of younger guys and younger coaches on the come up, as you said, too. Andrew Geno Co, Rob Leonard being a first-time defensive coordinator. Some of their position coaches, a lot of names that people haven't heard of that could be on the up and up in Las Vegas. So when you have that mix, I think that's a good uh, staff for the Raiders so far. I like what they've done. Rick Denison and older coaches we mentioned earlier in the show. But again, for that offensive line, for that important unit, I think you want experience there.
Right. Omar Young, the running backs coach, of course, out of the Big Ten. Another good coach, and that tells you the prioritizing Ashton Genty's development as well. Ronnell Williams from Philadelphia, Mo, is a guy, he's in coaching circles, as I read and researched, really well regarded for what he's done with that Eagles defense and previous stops as well. So I think that you start to look at some of these coaches, most of them coming from positions where we've seen them do very good things. This is not like last year where people are resting on laurels or resting on your last name and who daddy is. These are all mostly men who've earned their spots, some older, some younger. But I really like the kind of the mood around this and the way he's constructing his staff.
Shots fired at you know who there with the comments from Scott about who's your daddy. But we're not gonna go there. We're gonna stick to the positive.
Past.
No, but I totally agree here. And I'm not gonna say that this is gonna be something that turns the Raiders over and overnight and this is a home run staff. Of course, I said this on Twitter, and I know Murph, if you're listening, this is the magic phrase. It feels different this time. I did a Bleacher Report video and I said, now this time it feels different, though we've said that for the past, I don't know how many years, but this time it really does, simply because of what Clint Kubiak's been able to put together under a short window. Because remember, he was in that Super Bowl game, so he had a short period of time to put his staff together before the NFL Combine next week.
Yes, and we had a discomfort, I should say, with Pete Carroll last year when he started to put his staff. When Pete Carroll came on board, I was fooled. I thought, okay, adults in the room, things are going to go well. So I was wrong. I've admitted that. We talked about that many, 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 many times. But then as he started to construct his staff, it started to be very clear that things were not going as you really wanted them to. So yes, it does feel very, very different from that. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what does this coaching staff mean for the current members of the roster, the needs of the roster, which we know there are lots of. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how it might impact some of the players you follow already in the silver and black. This is Silver and Black Today. You're with Mo and Scott. We'll be back right after this little word. All right, folks, time to tell you again about our good friends at Sleeper Picks. Of course, they've been sponsors here all year long. We're out of football season. Now we're picking basketball because Mo, unlike me, knows his NBA, and he wants to help you play daily fantasy football with our friends at Sleeper Picks. If you deposit money right now, you will get a match up to $100 for free just using our exclusive code GENTY. That's GENTY, up to $100. You get it, they give you more, and you can you can play more daily fantasy sports, be it hockey, there's Olympic hockey going on, but also NBA, which we're going to talk about today. All right, Mo, let's start out. Give me 3 players tonight in the NBA and what you want to pick for these dudes.
Let's start with Alperen Sengun against the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, he's the Rockets center. Take the over on his points. Sengun may hit a couple 3-pointers, and you know what that means. If you hit a couple 3-pointers, you're going to hit your point total pretty quickly. I'll take the over. It's that 19.5. Bank it from the start. Sengun, rising star center in Houston. Bank it in for him on points.
All right, there you go. Sengun with that first pick. Okay, who you got next? You got Jalen Johnson, right?
Going with Jalen Johnson, double-double. He's coming off his first All-Star appearance. Getting him for the double-double. Joel Embiid for the Philadelphia 76ers may not. Actually, he's going to be out with a shin injury, so that's going to open up a lot of rebounds for the Hawks. Big guys. Double-double for Jalen Johnson. We all know he's going to get at least 10. So we just worried about the rebounds. And the Hawks against the 76ers, that's a good matchup for Jalen Johnson because the 76ers are giving up the third most double-doubles to power forwards, second most rebounds to the same position. So banking in for Jalen Johnson for your second leg, or you can do it separate as a standalone.
All right, and then Ben Shepherd, your last pick, right?
Ben Shepherd, not a big name like Jalen Johnson or Sengun, but this is an easy bet. His line is at 6.5. If you're looking at his matchup against the Washington Wizards, the Wizards are giving up the most points to shooting guards. Aaron Nesmith may not play. He, of course, is the guy that's going to usually plays a lot of minutes on the wing. If he is out, then this is an easy bet. But even if he plays, Ben Shepherd come off the bench could give you 7 points.
All right, there you go. Mo's picks. They're right there on the screen for you for tonight. Make sure you check it out. Listen, a $10 wager on this, and you're going to make $91.90. Mo making you Mo money. That's what I like to see. And you can do it all on Sleeper Picks. So make sure you get over there and do it, because guess what? Put in $10, they'll match it for 10. You put in 50, they'll match it 50. You put in 100, they'll match 100. Only using our offer, using the code GENTY on Sleeper Picks for your best place to play daily fantasy sports. Don't forget, rules and regulations apply. You can check those all out in the app or on the website, and might be available in your state. It might not. Most likely it is. So check out the website for availability in your area from our friends at Sleeper Picks. Welcome back to Silver and Black today, segment number 2 here. Scott and Mo talking Raiders football with you. Thanks for being with us as we count down. Just a couple more shows left here on Silver and Black today in its current incarnation. So thank you all for being with us, and thank you for the kind notes. I know Mo's gotten them. I've gotten them. Of course, we're not going anywhere. It's not like we're falling off the face of the planet. We'll be around, so we'll be in touch, and you'll see us work, and you'll see all kinds of stuff happening. So stay in touch with us. Follow Mo on X at Moton, Moeemoton. I am at LV Gully, the show SMB today. Okay, Mo, so we talked about the first segment about the staff and what Clint Kubiak is building, which I really like, the dynamic nature of it. Now you look at who you have on the coaching staff. You can start to read from that. For example, we know Clint Kubiak and Andrew Gennaco, who will be his deputy on offense. We know what type of system they like to run. We saw it in Seattle. Yes, there's always little adjustments when coaches move. And then on the defensive side, we know Rob Leonard, where he's come from. Now he gets to assert himself. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball. If you look at Rob Leonard, what he's done and who he is and where this Raider defense is as far as the roster is concerned, what kind of changes might we expect which could impact not only the roster of existing players, but also what the Raiders do in the draft?
I think we're going to see more odd man fronts. Now, he's coached under Brian Flores, aggressive unit. You see a lot of mixed fronts, but a lot of odd man if you look at Minnesota Vikings games. He's also been under Mike Macdonald for a bit, I believe 1 year in Baltimore, when Mike Macdonald was a defensive coordinator. Different fronts are going to be used there. So you're thinking who fits and who doesn't fit. If you're one of those even man front defensive ends, probably not a fit. I would expect that most of the Raiders that are there on defensive line can be carried over only because Rob Leonard has just coached them anyway. So if you mix up fronts, a lot of those guys are going to stay. I do think Malcolm Kuntz could be the odd man out, and only because what is he going to command in free agency? Now, he got a 1 year, I believe, $12 million deal, a prove it deal. Didn't really prove much this past season coming off of injury. We'll see if the Raiders think that they can get him for a cheaper price, so if he tries to go elsewhere and chase another payday. But I think Malcolm Kuntz, because of his price, not because of the scheme, but because of the price he may command elsewhere, if another team thinks that they can get the late 2023 version of him again, then or 24 version of him again, then make some spend some money on him. Like I think I was right, 23 because 24 he missed the whole year.
Missed the
But
whole
if they
year,
can
yeah.
get that end of 23, that last quarter of the 2023 season, if they can get that version of him, if another team sees that, let's say Patrick Graham sees it in Pittsburgh, 'cause that's where he is now, maybe he goes on to Pittsburgh.
Right. And you look at Rob Leonard too, and you start to think, because to your point about coaching the defensive line, you saw progress there, right? I think in a lost season where things went so poorly for this team, there were highlights. There were things where you saw young players develop on front. We saw guys like Tonka Hemingway towards the end of the year show flashes. I'm not saying he's a sure thing, but these are guys that weren't getting an opportunity early on that suddenly they got work. They did the hard work. Rob Leonard coached them up, and you saw them contribute significantly towards the end of the year. So I like what you said with that one. And then on the backside, we know the Raiders need a lot of work on that backside on the roster. And so I think they're going to have to focus that. I think that's where you'll see free agency and the draft really come together so that he can do it. Now, on the offensive side, we know quarterback, of course. We know offensive line. From a wide receiver perspective, Mo, I think that's going to be something that Kubiak has to look at, right? You also probably need another running back to spell Ashton Genty as well. So when you look at that and what Clint Kubiak and Andrew Gennaco are going to do, what do you see? How do you see that unfolding as we inch towards March and just towards the NFL draft coming up?
I'll start at running back because there are a lot of Raider fans that are drooling over Kenneth Walker not being tagged as of today. And they're feeling like, oh, maybe he leaves Seattle. I just don't think the Raiders are going to spend big money at the running back position when they've already invested a top 6 pick in a running back. So it doesn't make sense. Kenneth Walker is going to get some money. He's going to get paid. He was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
And he had arguably his best year just past year. So he hits the market. He's going to get a decent sized salary, and I don't think the Raiders are going to bring that in. I understand the connection with Kubiak, but they probably go cheaper at running back. At wide receiver, it's an odd situation because you have to figure out what does Clint Kubiak, how does he feel about Jack Besh and Dante Thornton Jr.? Does he think Jack Besh can be a high end number 2? And if he doesn't, then the Raiders could pick up 2 wide receivers if he's also shaky on Dante Thornton Jr. If he thinks one or both those guys can contribute in a major way to complement Brock Bowers at tight end, then you may see them bring in one veteran wide receiver. A lot of people connecting Rashid Shahid to Clint Kubiak because Shahid was with Kubiak in New Orleans. He was with them last year in Seattle. So that's probably your prime candidate, wide receiver, to give you the speed. Although Tucker gives you the speed as well. I think the Raiders are going to need a big body if they don't fully believe in Jack Besh's development.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think they're in the position where they have to start developing some wide receivers. So to your point, is Besh and Thornton, are they those guys? And you're going to have to make some decisions before you really can see that on the field again, right? They're going to have to look at the film and decide and meet with them and see what goes on there. But I do think you'll see the Raiders at some point in the draft do that. They need that big body receiver. They need that young guy who's got the hands and can run the routes. And so I'm interested to see that as well. But Mo, I think this whole staff and how it impacts the roster is fascinating because that's what you start to do. You start to build your team. It's John Spytek, it's Clint Kubiak with that staff starting to get together now as they convene in Henderson to start to plan. Now they already have their scouting staff working and have been working on the draft, but stuff changes. So now you could see the Raiders really cramming to get their draft board in line with the vision they now have offensively and defensively. So as we move up to the draft, I know you'll be covering the heck out of this as well. You're going to see sort of some of these signs come out as you start to hear about where this team is going and what they're going to do.
So we just talked about it. I think the most work when it comes to this roster going into, because we're not that far from free agency. They're probably already stacking their free agent board. We're going to see a lot of change in the secondary, and we should. I know they drafted Darian Porter. He had some ups and downs, a lot of downs, but they need their safety position is probably the worst across the league. And I will see what happened. Do they bring Eric Stokes back? He was solid, but Eric Stokes is not a guy who collects interceptions. They need a guy who's going to take the ball away on the back end. They don't have that right now. So they need to redo their secondary as Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham redid it last year. They need to redo it again. And then we're going to find out how they feel about their young wide receivers. We just talked about Jack Besh and Dante Thornton Jr. I think regardless, you still bring in a veteran who understands Kubiak's offense and is a fit for Kubiak's system. Because remember, this team was sculpted for Chip Kelly, at least for half the season, before they moved on. And now you're bringing in Clint Kubiak, who's got a different vision for the squad.
Yeah, and I talked about new linebacker coach Ronnell Williams, who came over from the Eagles. That's another position, Mo, that the Raiders, it's been kind of a black hole. Free agents come in, do well, leave, whatever. But I think what you're going to see, and this is where I think it could be tough, not saying that things can't turn around relatively quickly, but the Raiders have these little pockets and positions where they not only don't have bodies, they don't have bodies upon bodies. They need the depth. They need to draft and develop young players. And I think linebacker is another opportunity there with Williams coming in. And I think that's why they brought him in, is because I think that's going to be another focus you'll see. As you mentioned, the odd man fronts and whatnot on defense. Might that be something you see as well with the Raiders looking to go linebacker?
I think so. And I think you're going to see a linebacker who can also rush the passer, right? Someone on the second level who can supplement that pass rush, because that's what you saw in Seattle under Mike McDonald. And that's what you see also with Brian Flores. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know in today's league, you want a linebacker who can cover. Now, the ultimate linebacker is linebacker who can do it all. Cover, pressure the quarterback, make some stops behind the line of scrimmage. But I think the Raiders are gonna experiment, or should I say, pick up different types and kinds of linebackers. You're going to get your linebacker who's the cover guy. You're going to get your linebacker who's a run stuffer. You're going to get your linebacker, as I said, who's more of an aggressive linebacker who's going to supplement that pass rush. Now, if you can find that all in one player, great. But those are unicorns in this league. Now, if you can get 2 or 3 of those traits, I think that's a win for the Raiders, and that probably is going to be your number one starter right there in the middle.
Yeah, and I would just advise Raider fans, even if you're not a draft fanatic or a draft Nick, as they call them, NIK, then you should be, because I think over the next couple of years, you're going to see the Raiders stack a lot of draft picks. We know they have 11 this year, and I think they're going to we'll see John Spytek move around and gain more, as this team really needs to get a solid foundation that it can build on for the next 3 to 5 years. And you really need to do that through the draft, supplementing with free agency. But free agency is going to be interesting. We'll talk a lot about that on the next show. On our way out the door, we will talk about free agency because it's coming right around the corner. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we get back, we're going to get some calls from you on the Raider Nation switchboard. This is Silver and Black today. It's Mo. It's Scott. Don't go anywhere. 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Scott Gulbransen from Silver and Black today. And I've been telling you, and I mean it, how great Brunt boots are. You know, work boots are difficult. You either pay a ton of money for stuff that doesn't last, or you get stuff you think it's comfortable and it just falls apart. You can't win for trying, right? But you can now, because my friends at Brunt Boots are amazing. Brunt workwear is phenomenal. If you don't have them, you need to go get them. Not only do they provide work boots for the working person out there, but they do so in a way that will blow your mind, because not only are they durable, I don't care whether you're looking for steel toe, you're in the most challenging work environment, you're going to find boots from Brunt. And here is my Marin boots, which they sent me, and you can see I've been wearing them because you can tell they're a little worn in. I've been wearing them during the winter here. This is the most comfortable boot I have ever worn. And I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor here. Yes, they are. They pay to be here. But you know what? I wear these boots. I bought another pair for my 2 sons. And I'm telling you, this is different. You don't have to sacrifice the quality of your boot, the durability of your boot, for comfort, because you get both. The air cushions inside these things, let me tell you something. I've never worn a shoe, forget work boot, I've never worn a shoe more comfortable than Brunt. And guess what? Because you watch Silver and Black today, and I know you want some good boots, Brunt Workwear will give you $10 off using the code BONOS. That's code BONOS, only from us here at Silver and Black today. Make sure you check out bruntworkwear.com, use the code BONOS, and get the $10 off. I'm telling you, join me, buy these boots. You will not regret it. If you don't like them, they'll take them back. That's how incredible they are. So go check out bruntworkwear.com. Use the code BONOS for $10 off. Welcome back, home stretch here on Silver and Black today. Hope your week has been great. We're hitting you on a Thursday this time, whether you're listening to us on Thursday or Friday. Have a great weekend. Coming up, Mo, the weather's turning. We had a 68-degree day yesterday here in Cincinnati. I was working most of the day inside, and then finally somebody said to me, dude, go outside. It's really nice outside. And so I ended up working the rest of the time outside. But how's New York City? You guys warming up a little bit, at least for a few days?
No such luck in the 60s. We're stuck in the upper 40s. There's still snow on the ground from a month ago. That's how
Yeah.
cold it was after it snowed, I believe, around the AFC Championship game. So there's still either snow on the ground or there are floods everywhere because a lot of the snow is melted. So it's kind of like a slushy, nasty, gloomy
Oh, yeah.
week in New York City. Yeah.
I know we had the same thing. We had 18 or 19 straight days where it did not reach more than 31 degrees. So, and much of that below 29. So the snow, yeah, it didn't go. It just melted over the past few days with the rain and the heat that we had. So I say heat. Imagine, see how you acclimate. I moved from Las Vegas to Cincinnati, and now I think 67 is like 90. I mean, it's 40 degrees and I'm out in shorts. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. But anyway, all right, we're going to get to your calls. We got a few calls to get to, and we're starting off with our good friend doing God's work, Pastor Mike behind bars. Here he is.
Scott, Mo, Pastor Mike behind bars. Hope you guys are doing well. Well, Scott and Mo, I appreciate you both. I'm real sad to see the silver and black today going away. You gave me a voice. Love calling in, love video dropping in and talking ball with you guys. I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm sure we'll see you around in other avenues, and I look forward to that. All right, so now on with the Raiders. Okay, Raiders, things are looking up, unless I'm falling for another false hope like every year, right? But I feel like they have a foundation here with Spytech. I loved in the press conference that it was Spytech up there. It wasn't Mark Davis. It was Spytech that was conducting the meeting, introducing Clint. We'll see how well if Clint can transition from offensive coordinator to head coach. And we'll see who the DC can be. I'm hoping for Jim Schwartz or Sean McDermott. I'd take. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? And but I know that Rob Leonard is also being interviewed, and he might be another guy. So looking forward to that. On with Max. Max. I understand this. I understand that Max wants to win. He doesn't want to go through another rebuild. Can I just tell you that I'm totally disappointed? But I'm at this point right now, settled in my heart, that if they trade Max, I'm totally okay with it. I understand it. They get a haul, they get a couple, 2, 3 number one picks, maybe a player, and that'll be great. But, I'm just really disappointed. Part of me goes, well, if we're going to trade him, just trade him to the Jets, right? But actually, I think it's a good landing spot for him that would work both for the Raiders and for the team is the Rams. The Rams have the 13th pick in the first round. I think that's a little bit better. And maybe give us a player, anybody but Devontae Adams. So there you go. But hey, guys, appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you in other avenues. I have to bother Murph and the Raiders fan radio as well. You guys have a great one. God bless you, man. Talk to you later.
All right, there's Pastor Mike behind bars. We appreciate him so much. And it was a little bit of a dated call, as you can tell, but he was right on. He said, oh, Mike Schwartz, but if it's Rob Leonard, I'll be great. And it was Rob Leonard. And then at the end, he talked about Max Crosby. I think a lot of Raider fans are in the same position, right, Mo? Everybody loves Max Crosby. They don't want Max Crosby to leave. But if he does and the Raiders get a good draft pick in return, they would understand it because they love Max Crosby enough to see or want to see what's best for him.
This has been my stance since the end of the season when it was talked about that he was upset about the Raiders shutting him down, and he made one out, and I was like, okay, that's fine as long as Raiders get great compensation for him. I'm okay with it. I'll say it again. I'm just so far past the fan aspect of it. Obviously I still have a rooting interest in the Raiders, but I don't get attached to players like I did when I was a teen.
Yeah.
If the Raiders want to move on and the compensation is good, the Raiders reportedly want 2 first rounders and a player for Max Crosby. if he wants out and they're able to get that in return, I don't think they'll get that in return. I think the most they'll get is a first in a player or maybe a first and another draft pick. I don't think they get 2 firsts in a player, but if they can get that Micah Parsons like package, I'd be okay with it, especially if he wants out. No point in keeping a player who doesn't want to be there, and you're rebuilding it anyway. Now you're going to have 2 first rounders, 2 more first rounders, and another player. Not to say that player is going to be Max Crosby, but if you're rebuilding it, that's what you'd want. That's the type of haul that you want in return for Max Crosby.
That's right. You need numbers, you need development, you need players. So there you go. But all right, Pastor Mike, thanks for the call. Now we're going out to our buddy Tarek in Chicago. Here he is.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Mo. This is Tarek checking in with you guys from Chicago. I know you guys are winding down your final shows at the end of the month. It really sucks to see you guys go. You guys do a tremendous job, and it'll be hard to find another show that meets your guys' quality and your standards. You guys certainly raised the bar, and I'll definitely miss hearing you guys on a weekly basis, especially, when training camp kicks off as well as the start of the regular season this fall. But some big news, the Raiders signed Andrew Gennaco to offensive coordinator, and Rob Leonard obviously was promoted from the D-line coach to the defensive coordinator. It's nice to see Kubiak start to round up his coaching staff. We're not too far away from the combine and the start of free agency. So I definitely trust he has some solid connections, and he'll continue to put in a really quality coaching staff. Everyone else just kind of needed to go. I'm glad to see Patrick Graham go as well, but we need to get our new coordinator, defensive coordinator particularly, a lot more pieces on defense. Max Crosby, kind of over it. I think starting to not be as much of a fan of Crosby. I understand that most of his prime years in Vegas have been wasted with a lot of losing and a lot of turnover, but either you're all in or you're all out. I don't like all the wishy-washiness, and the fact that I don't know if it's fact, but I heard that he was in the facility at the time Kubiak had his presser but chose not to go. I think that's bogus, especially for a guy who was always talking about leadership. So I definitely have an issue with that, and I do hope we move on from Crosby and get maybe hopefully 2 first-round picks for him. He needs a fresh start somewhere else, and if they work things out, then fine. I guess, you win either way, but I would think I can't make a prediction on that. I think it's difficult to predict. I think it could certainly go either way, but I don't like all this unnecessary drama as we get further and further into this year. So we'll see what happens with that. Hope you guys are doing well. Looking forward to your countdown of your final shows, and I'll definitely tune in whenever you guys are on the air. It's been a good run, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Go Raiders. Bye-bye.
All right, there's Tarek. And I want to talk about that, Mo, about the Max Crosby press conference thing, because we talked about it on the last show. Had a bunch of people in the comments tell us how we were wrong, that he didn't need to be there. He met with him for coffee in the morning. And I said, no, leadership is you show up. You are the face of the franchise. Now, until Mendoza gets in there as the quarterback, that'll be another one. But you're the face of the franchise. Ashton Genty was there. Some other players, Brock Bowers wasn't there. He actually was. But nonetheless, again, it's all about the optics, but it's about leadership. If you're a leader, and again, Max Crosby got his reason for doing what he's doing. But I think that was, as we said last week, that was a bad sign. That is, Max Crosby's not all in. Doesn't matter if he met with Clint Kubiak for coffee. He's not all in. He didn't show, he wasn't there to support the organization in a full room with everybody else who was a leader and important to the organization was there.
Tarek said what we said. If you're going to step in front of a microphone and talk about how much of a leader you are and how much you're at the forefront of everything, be at the forefront of when your new head coach is being introduced. Because some of the young players were there, and if some of the young players were there, you could be there too, regardless if you had coffee with him or not. That's to me, that doesn't compensate for being in the building and not showing up at the press conference. How much energy does it take to just show up in another room in the same facility, right? If you're going to be that leadership type of guy, if you're going to talk that leadership stuff, well, then you have to walk the walk as well. And the fact that he had been there for previous head coaching introductory press conferences and not there for that one, people are going to ask questions about why. And I think those are fair questions.
They're fair questions, and I think this is all jockeying. This is him playing his leverage, whatever that is and whatever he wants out of it. We don't know. I can't assume to know what he's thinking, but clearly it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I think it wasn't a good look. But that's looking at it from a Raider perspective. From his perspective, it might be exactly what he wants to do because he wants to let everybody know he's serious about going somewhere else, or that he needs certain things to happen for him to stay. So we'll see. But we appreciate the call. As always, Tarek, always there for us. All right, now we're going out to North Carolina. Tar Heel Tom is back.
Scott, Mo, it's Tar Heel Tom. Step one is complete. We got the guy. Kubiak, welcome to Raider Nation. And I know Raiders fans have just been optimistic because we are starving for any bit of positivity, any form of winning. I'm not saying that winning seasons are going to happen as of next season, but you know what? If the Raiders do the right things, we've seen just how quick a turnaround can be in the NFL. I mean, look at the New England Patriots and what they did. Now, I'm not saying the Raiders are going to do that, but step one is complete. Step two, hire a competent staff. Get a competent staff that literally is better than anything that we just saw last year. Mo from the top rope saying that Kubiak's sons are too young to coach the offensive line. That's great news for us Raiders fans. It really is. Step three, draft Mendoza. You draft Mendoza, you have a lot of youth and a lot of upside on the offensive side of the ball. You got your quarterback. You got your running back who actually performed pretty well given all the circumstances. A poor O-line. Literally the run game scheme was horrendous, and he still performed fairly well. Brock Bowers, when he's healthy, it's great. Probably get another wide receiver, but overall, you got pieces to build around and build with. The defense probably does need some work too, but even that unit, under circumstances, performed fairly well, but there are needs to be met. You've got the cap space, make the right moves, press the right buttons, and let's ride. I'm excited to see what John Spytek can actually do because we don't really know how he did because Pete Carroll didn't play any of the players that he drafted. So I'm excited for a year of Spytek. I love the move. Let's ride, Raider Nation. Let's go.
All right, there's Tar Heel Tom. Good call there. I mean, Mo, he laid it out pretty nicely there.
I have nothing much to add there other than
perfect.
but like he said, it's sort of, he didn't say this, but it feels like cautious optimism, right? You're feeling like this is, as we said, it feels different this time. Though we've said it so many times, you're looking at the staff, and one thing I want to point out is what this staff should have that the last staff didn't is flexibility in their thinking and philosophy. I think when you have a lot of older coaches on staff, they're set in their ways. I've been doing it this way for 10, 15 years. We're going to do it this way now. We have a bunch of young guys who, as you said, Scott, are coming up in the ranks who have not been in the position they're in right now, i.e., Rob Leonard as a defensive coordinator. You're going to get fresh ideas. You're going to get innovativeness, and that's what the Raiders needed from their coaching staff. And guys who are going to say, you know what, that didn't work. I'm willing to change this. Whereas Pete Carroll's staff, when Pete Carroll was questioned about the offensive line, remember, he was like, these are the guys that we had practice at these positions, and we're not changing it. When asked about JPJ, we're not changing anything. And it was clear that it wasn't working, and they were forced to change it because of the injuries. But with this staff, I think it's not going to take injuries for them to look at something and say, you know what, we need to tweak this, we need to change that, and let's move forward.
Right. And you bring up a really good point too, which is that flexibility, which I think comes, to be frank, with being younger. Right. So, and remember, Pete Carroll was a great coach at one time, won a Super Bowl, got to give him his props for that. Right. Yeah. And he let everybody know it. To your point, he uses an excuse. I've won a lot of games. I think I know what I'm doing. No, you didn't last year. But nonetheless, Clint Kubiak walks in the locker room, meets with these players. He won a Super Bowl this month. Okay. So that is a much different sell too, I think, for a player who's going to be open to the coaching staff and Clint Kubiak, who they just saw win the Super Bowl, right? There's a relative newness and recency with that I think carries a lot of weight.
And it should. It absolutely should. And just to put a bow on it, Clint Kubiak has never been a head coach, so he's going to be leaning on some guys, who are going to have some experience. We talked about Denison, not as a head coach, but just years of coaching experience. And then you got Mike McCoy there. he's going to be able to take the input from those guys, but he's also going to be able to put his spin, his flavor on it, because he talked about Mike Macdonald at his press conference. He said Mike Macdonald didn't try to be John Harbaugh when he got to Seattle. He was himself. And I think you're going to get that from Kubiak as well. Now, some people say he's a little more reserved, and that's fine. You don't need someone who's yelling into the microphone all day and talking loud and rah. And you just need a guy who has a plan. It seems like he has a plan, and guys, assistants who follow that plan.
That's right. All right. Our final call this week is from our buddy Yandog, who we haven't heard from in a while. Here's Yandog.
Hey, Scott, Mo, Yandog. Been a couple months, man. Trying to keep it on the low, man. Been very busy. But from what I hear that you guys can be calling it quits on the radio station. My buddy T told me that, but I'd like to just get some points across with these Raiders. Max Crosby needs to be a team player and stop crying and everything. If they have to trade him, because it's sad he wasn't at the press conference when the coach Kubiak was there, and I enjoyed that press conference. And I just hope that they come together and they got quality management compared to what they used to have, because it was a joke with Carroll and his farm son boy there. But anyway, just wanted to, get across that I have a feeling good vibes about the Raiders, and that they're doing some good things, though, and everything. And they're going to have better management, and that's what I like. But that's about it, guys. I hope that you guys have a good future between the two of you. It was enjoyable when I was talking to you guys, and I felt kind of bad that I heard that he was telling me you guys are going to be closing it down. But anyway, this is your friend Yandog, over and out, and I'll talk to you guys later.
There we go. We got the barks from Yandog. And Yandog, we'll be around. Don't worry. We'll still be here a little bit, just in different ways, right? But anyway, good point. I mean, listen, I think everybody feels the same way about Max Crosby, Mo. We don't want to beat the dead horse here, but it'll come to a head here, I think, pretty soon, especially if the Raiders are looking at moving him. Because if I'm the Raiders, I've called everybody before I've talked to Max Crosby to see what the interest is, what they're willing to pay. And then I'm going to Max Crosby and say, okay, Max, what's the deal? You want to stay? Here's what we'd like you to stay. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And if he says, no, I want out, then you already tested the market. You know what you can get. And then you can start actively shopping.
And I think people are looking for us to take a side here, whether, because you know how sports talk goes. You got to take one side or the other. Do you want Max gone or you want him to stay? And I've said this for weeks now. I still think it's a fluid situation, and I'm fine either way. If Max Crosby stays and he's on that Raiders defensive line and he's still playing at the level he's been playing at, I'm fine with that. If the Raiders were to trade Max Crosby because he wants to move somewhere else and they can get a Micah Parsons-like deal for him, I'm fine with that as well. We're where the Raiders are right now, trying to rescope and rebuild this roster. Having an extra first-round pick and another young player will be good for that rebuild. And we all know Max Crosby, and I've said this plenty of times, he's going to be 29 in August. You can't play at a high level forever. At some point, that decline is going to come. And Max Crosby's had surgery after surgery after surgery, and you're wondering when that decline is going to come. Turning 29, you would think it's going to be pretty soon. So they don't feel like they can get the optimal years out of him, and they can get some draft capital player. I'm all fine with it. If he can be that great player he's been, fine with that too.
Yeah, I agree with you that. And I'm in the same position. Either way, I mean, look, Max Crosby's a great player. He's a great human being. The charity work he does in Las Vegas is unreal. So I have a lot of respect for him on and off the field, but we'll see how it all works out. Mo, let everybody else know what you got coming up this weekend, and going into next week.
So I'm going to talk more about the offensive line over at Bleacher Report. I'm going to release a VOD, a short reel, if you want to call it that. Just some of the questions that Rick Denison is going to have to answer. We talked about some of that today on this show. Who's going to be the starting center? What are they going to do with JPJ? Are they going to try to replace DJ Glaze? Did he show enough to at least compete for the job at right tackle? I think he moves inside the guard. I've been saying that since he was drafted. Our guy at Bleacher Report said that DJ Glaze is probably a better guard than tackle. We'll see what the Raiders think in their new staff, but I'll talk about that over on the Bleacher Report Live.
All right, there you go. Bam. Good show. All right, everybody, appreciate it. Make sure you call in. Take part in our last couple shows here. 702-900-7869 is the number. 702-900-7869. Let us know how you feel about the Raiders. Let us know how you feel about the show. We appreciate all of you. You've made it so much fun. And, there'll be lots of other things coming up for both of us in different ways. So we'll keep you in touch with that as well. Make sure you follow Mo at Mo Moton on X, Moemoton. I am at LV Gully. And of course, the show, SNB Today. Mo, my friend, take care, man. We will see you next week.
Take care, Scott. Take care, Raider Nation.
All right. For Mo Moton, for our producer, Mike Robier over at Odyssey, I'm Scott Gulbransen. This has been Silver and Black Today. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.